I said, what are we going to do? And then we said, you know what? Let's turn into something fun. Let's go to the in-laws' home, which is the kids' grandparents. And we packed everything in. The kids was actually happy. So when life hands you lemonade, hand you lemon, you make lemonade. So
Hmm.
we went there and found a way to get there. So, oh, I see Dr. Maria is there and Cindy.
Hi, welcome in,
Amazing to see you
everyone.
both.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome, welcome.
Sherry, you have to meet Sandy. She's such an amazing person. And the first day I met her, we actually had a podcast that went all the way to going to 7K view now,
Oh,
posted less than
wow.
Mm.
a month. And she's so amazing. You don't understand. And Dr. Maria is in Brazil joining us here. And she's such an amazing person as well. So I'm so lucky to have amazing women behind me that support me every single day, and I can't do nothing without them because they are my support system. So I appreciate you both, Sandy and Dr. Maria, being here. Mean a lot to me. So thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. How sweet. And I think I had peripherally met Dr. Maria from Brazil on one of your LinkedIn posts, I believe.
Yes.
Because I think, yeah, there was something about that. So that's awesome. Heidi Black, welcome in.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
It's so great to see you. Heidi and I met in Costa Rica, believe it or not. So that is so awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Costa Rica has popped up a lot in conversation lately. So I don't even
Did
know
you
what
go
that.
this year?
I went for 2 years in a row. This year I took off because I had an opportunity to present at a conference in Paris and they were at the same time. So I wanted to give that one a whirl, but I'm going to come back to Costa Rica this coming year. So
Oh, great. How
will
is
you be there?
I don't know. We have a lot of things kind of floating around that we might be doing, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
I know it gets complicated, right? That's
Yeah.
just the easiest way to say it. So, yeah.
Definitely.
But welcome in. We have somebody on a phone line as well. I don't think nope, that's somebody else. So welcome in, welcome in. We'll just give another minute or so to get started. And then Sandy, what city are you coming in from?
I'm in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, very cool.
So probably a distance from you.
That's super cool. Actually, I leave for Toronto on
Ah,
Sunday.
nice, nice.
I'm speaking at a conference up there at Metropolitan Toronto University or something of that nature.
TMU. Yeah,
Yeah,
Toronto
something like that.
Metropolitan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's what it is.
excellent group of people there.
Yeah,
Phenomenal people. So yeah.
yeah. So I'm super, super excited. How is the smoke in your area?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say you're going to notice it. So I'm in the area where the fires actually are. So everyone else is experiencing the smoke, but it is here. They're within 2 hours of the city I live in.
Uh-huh.
So it's just a waiting game of if the wind shifts. So, and praying for rain. All of them were caused by lightning. So we're hoping for rain and not thunderstorms. So,
Right.
And the
yeah.
same thing with me, Sandy. I'm here in Detroit. We'll actually be up in Thunder Bay in 2 weeks. We're driving up there to visit. Well, we
Ah,
were.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
too cool.
scary.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. It's 11:01. My name is Shari Collins. If any of you don't know me, I live in Omaha, Nebraska, but I get to work globally. I own a small boutique consulting practice with three pillars. One of my pillars is in psychological safety. One of my pillars is ageism. And one of my pillars basically is everything else that I can't give up that I love, like bias training and leadership and change management and things like that. But we're so, so glad to have you here on our Future of Work call with Open Sesame. Our session today is called Lead Yourself Before You Lead Others, Why Your Story is the Foundation of Future Ready Leadership. And with that, I want to welcome in my friend Kevin. Kevin, thank you for being here today. A real quick bio. Kevin Marius is a leadership speaker, author, coach, and corporate leader. He is the creator of the S.T.O.R.Y method, S.T.O.R.Y, and we'll talk about that during our call today, and also the author of the book Unbreakable. And I'll be dropping that link in the chat in a moment too. Kevin helps leaders and entrepreneurs become authority from their story, drawing on his own journey from arriving in the United States with nothing to becoming a published author, a keynote speaker, and a Fortune 15 corporate leader. He also serves as an assembly leader with the Entrepreneurs Assembly under the Global Entrepreneurship Festival, which is the GEF, which I also want to chat a little bit about that as well. And I'm not sure, Sandy, did I see this, but I was looking down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kevin, we got you with the book. So how today's session is going to work, I have three basic questions that I'm going to ask Kevin to speak to. And then once he is finished with that question, we'll open it to the audience because we always want to make sure we're having audience participation so you don't have to hold your questions until the very end. And then Kevin, if there's anything else, of course, you know this, that you want to add in that's maybe not directly part of my question, you have autonomy to add in whatever you feel like is important and that you want to add. So that's kind of how today will go. And again, thank you so much for being here. We do have some new people. So I guess I maybe will pause just for a second. Yep, I see some other new people. Does anybody want to, one, unmute and say who you are and maybe how you got to this group, and or put your information in the chat so we can see who you are and where you're from. So Kevin, hang on one second before I turn over to our questions, and let's just make sure we properly welcome everybody into our group.
And Sherry, I can get us started while everybody else is thinking about what they're going to say and how they're going to introduce themselves. I'm Liza Wisner, and I'm the Talent and Workforce Culture Lead here at Open Sesame. And I always have a pleasure being in this space with Shari Collins. Sean Fisher is also one of our ambassadors, Megan Isasi as well. And it's just always a pleasure being here to meet with everybody. And what brings me to this space is really community, just having people share maybe who they're becoming in the era that we're in right now and how I can also learn from that, how we can learn from each other. So bringing community together is kind of what brings me here. Thanks for asking, Sherry.
Yeah, of course. All right, who would like to speak next?
I'll go. Thanks, Sandy. My name's Heidi Blackie, and I have a small consulting business in Seattle, Washington called Somersault Wellness, where I help people age in place. I also do ergonomics. I'm an occupational therapist, and I have an online empowerment program for women with chronic illness. And as a person working from home alone, I would love to just have outreach to other people, see what they're doing, help support other people, and just gain insights. And I'm really excited about this and especially this topic. So thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for being here, Heidi. Who would like to go next?
I can jump in here. So Mishko Pognon Queen Adishnakas Mundodem. My name is Sandy Boucher, and I'm known as the Approachable Indian. I work in the realm of Indigenous engagement, which is huge in Canada. So I work with nonprofits, government entities, and hospitals, universities to help them improve their relationships with Indigenous people and understand the cultural differences that are causing a problem. So keynote speaker, author, trainer, consultant.
Awesome. Oh, we're so glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Anybody else want to unmute?
Sure, I'll jump in really quickly. Hey, good morning, everyone, or hello, wherever you're at in no different time zones. My name is Sean Fisher. I'm based in the Detroit area, right across from Windsor, Ontario. Heidi, I definitely have to talk to you offline. I spent a lot of time in Seattle. It's almost second home for me. I actually stayed in First Hill. I used to walk to Capitol Hill quite a bit, so we could definitely talk. Um, Sandy, I do quite a bit of work with the Navajo Nation and the Hopi tribe, so we can definitely talk about education as well. And also in Seattle, I did a little bit of work with their Native Education department, so we could definitely talk. As I said, my name is Sean Fisher, based in Detroit. I run a conflict resolution firm, the Fisher Mediation Group. We work all throughout the nation. It also is a veteran-owned firm, and that's just a little bit about me. I'm also as Lisa said earlier, one of the ambassadors. So thank you all for having me. I love this work, and that's why I show up every month.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. A little side note, Sean and I got to present together last week in Washington, D.C. at a veteran conference. We talked about psychological safety and we had a blast, and we're already trying to figure out when can we get our next engagement lined up. So that was really great fun, Sean. Thank you so, so much for that opportunity.
Welcome. It was awesome.
Anybody else want to unmute? And thanks for your comments in the chat, those of you that are following along in the chat as well.
Next, Sherry. My name is Megan Isasi. I live here in Corpus Christi, Texas. And at Open Sesame, where Liza and I work, I am the senior curator for leadership and management. So I talk to organizations around the world about what to do with their leaders and how to guide them. And then I also run the ERG here at Open Sesame by the name of Juntos.
Yes, it's awesome. Thank you, Megan. So glad you're here. Anyone else before we turn it over to Kevin? All right, Kevin, let's get started. It looks like Sandy had a question about ERG. So Megan, if you want to answer that question for her while Kevin and I move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, I just meant in the
In
chat.
the chat.
Sorry.
Yep, got it.
So sorry. So, Kevin, you alluded to your story in your bio. You said you came to United States with nothing. But I want to open our conversation today by having you talk a little bit more about what is your story. And I know that you often say your story is your leadership differential. So if you can, or differentiator, either of those two things. So if you can talk about that a little bit, and also how you have climbed up the ladder to be in a Fortune 15 corporate leader. If you don't know what Fortune 15 is, that is not just the top Fortune 500, but 15. So, Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you and let's get started.
First of all, thank you for having me. And it's always a pleasure to share the story because I moved from shame and to now being a person that have the authority from the story. So I want to share that with you today. So my story starts in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and I grew up in a very little, and I mean very little, right? Literally. My parents used to rush to pick us up from school just to take advantage of the sunlight because that was the only way we could study. No guarantee that the lights will come on at night. And when the light finally come on, I can remember that vividly. People scream like a city that just won a Super Bowl. That's how people were excited when the light finally comes on. But that's the thing about scarcity, right? It teaches you to celebrate what other people take for granted. So that's why today, and when people ask me, Kevin, what motivates you? And to this day, tell my answer always surprise them. And it's not something big. It's not complicated things. It's electricity 24/7. It's flipping the light switch on and off. It's turning a faucet on and water just gush out because back home that wasn't guaranteed. So here, that's enough for me to motivate me. That's the gratitude I carry every single day. And when I came to this country at 17 years old, Sherry, I had nothing. Literally, like there was a stretch where I was sleeping in a cold basement on a piece of cardboard. And the leader asked me one morning, and I was devastated the night before, and I got to work, and the leader asked me how I was doing, and I brushed him off, but he insisted and told me, what was going on with you? And I finally told him, and he left, and I thought that he left for the day, but he went to the bank and came back with $600 in an envelope. And he told me, take the rest of the day, Kevin, and go buy yourself a mattress. Don't give up on your dream. You have the ability to become great, and one day you might even be my boss. And and that changed me completely. And then what he did the next time, he changed his schedule. He said, for going forward, your schedule mirror mine. So what he did, he picked me up every morning and dropped me off. He brought me breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day for a year straight. He taught me leadership, Sherry. And when he became a salary manager, I landed my first supervisor position. And that's why leadership matters so much to me. Because a leader doesn't just manage people. And I want you to listen to that carefully. A leader doesn't just manage people. A leader changed the trajectory of people's life.
Mhm.
You understand? He didn't have to hand me a check. And then he did that because he believed in me. And he didn't just hand me a check only or with $600. He handed me a possibility that I can become more than I ever imagined. And that's what leadership should be about today, is about seeing people at their lowest.
Mm.
That's leadership. Seeing
Mhm.
people at the lowest. And I was in a call yesterday, and I told people is leadership is about, I think Cindy was there. Leadership is about believing in people. Let them bow your belief until they're strong enough to believe in themselves.
Mm.
And in my journey, English wasn't my first language. So everything, school, work, was just getting by. It was a fight every single day. It took me 17 years to finish a 4-year degree. I mean, 17 years. The diploma you see on the wall now looks nice on the wall, but I didn't actually receive it until 4 years ago. So everything that I accomplish it with a degree of struggle
Mhm.
and a master in failure. And
Mhm.
that taught me how to see people. But here's what I learned in that season as well. That's very important. And I think last Saturday, I was able to share that every struggle I went through became a material. Because what I'm about to tell you is very important, and I want you to listen to it carefully. If you need to take note, or if you need to go back to the recording and listen to this is very important. And that's what I teach today. And I strongly believe pain that isn't processed becomes a scar.
Mhm.
Pain that is processed becomes a story. And the story, once you own it, becomes your authority. And that's
Mm.
why it became my foundation of my book, Unbreakable, and became my framework that I teach every single day, the story method. And I'm currently working on my second book that I'm so excited about. And I went deep, everybody. I went pretty deep. That title will be The Unedited Leader.
Mm.
And that's why I tell people lead first with your story. And that's why today I lead first with my story and then my credential later, right?
Mhm.
I'm a regional delivery manager, a Fortune 15 company, a coach, a speaker, the founder of Kevin Marius Group LLC. But that's just the wrong way, Sherry, because what the goal was never to escape the basement and forget it. And that's what people always do. But the goal was to escape the basement and go back for somebody who doesn't know that there's a way out. So the
Mhm.
real work is helping other leaders and entrepreneurs see that their story, it's not your liability. It's your greatest strategy. It's how you connect with the rest of the world because you didn't go through that for no reason. You went through that because someone else is waiting for your story to succeed.
Mhm. That is so powerful, Kevin. I've heard you tell your story, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I love hearing it because there's other little nuggets that pop out every single time. One thing that stood out to me that we haven't really talked a lot about, Kevin, is look at those leaders, or look at that leader of yours who thought about basic needs, like making sure that you have sleep and rest, making
Yes.
sure that you had food, making sure that you have transportation to get to work, just those basic needs of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that person saw that and knew we have to take care of that before we can expect you to show up and be a productive employee. So how do we find, and this might be just a question for everybody, how do we really get to know our reports well enough that they feel psychologically safe to let us know what's really going on? Because so many people would put up barriers and not let their leaders know of some of those real severe struggles. So that's something that just comes to mind. Like, how do we do that as leaders? And especially like in our time, we know just with the economy and everything going on in the world, there's people that are really struggling just with basic survival, but yet they're showing up at work.
And I'll jump on that. And the first thing I'll say is I was having the same conversation, and I was asking people what leadership really mean.
Mhm.
And people had different answers. And then I said, you got it wrong. Leadership is not about getting things done with people. Leadership is not about getting things done through people. Leadership is about growing people through the
Mhm.
things that we get done. People
Mhm.
forget, sometimes we forget about the people. So the people is who we are really showing up for. And to your point is, a leader asks me the basic questions. Sometimes we forget to be human.
Yeah.
Sometimes we hide behind our title, we lead with our title, and we forget that we were at a point of time in the same circumstance at certain people. And sometimes we have to be able to reach back to help people get up, to help people show them the way, because this is a continuous journey when it comes to leadership. So leadership is about welcoming person into a journey, walk them to a journey, ask the basic questions.
Mhm.
Nobody ever asks me what is my plan, what is my blueprint for the company, what I want to be 4 years from now. That's not what the leader asks me. He asked me a simple question, Sherry. How are you really doing? And
Mhm.
sometimes as leaders, we get so busy with meetings, we get so busy with reports, we get so busy with KPI, which is key performance indicator. And then I changed that. I called it keep people involved. That's the KPI for leaders. The basic question is, how are you really doing this morning? And
Yeah.
how can I help? But it's about being a servant leader. And I'll leave
Mhm.
it for somebody else if you have any additional.
Yeah, you're right, though. The power of the check-in is one of the most important things we can do as a leader, and not just the power of a greeting, not just like, hi, have a great day, and then run off down the hallway, but truly checking in and asking that question,
Mhm.
waiting for the response, and then being willing to do something or act on whatever response you're given, right? The power of the check-on in. Okay, Kevin and I will pause. There's some really great information coming through the chat. So thanks, folks, for putting your ideas in there. But does anybody want to come off mute and speak to what Kevin was just talking about?
I will, Sherry. Hi, good
Hi,
morning.
Barbara.
Um,
Good to see you.
Good to see you. We had a sales manager here when I first started, and unfortunately, we lost him a year later to illness. But when he would come in, he wasn't in the office often, but when he would come in, he would go to every single office, every single cubicle, and he'd say, "Hi, how are you?" And he would wait for you to answer. And if you didn't, he'd say, "No, I'm asking."
Mhm.
Like it's not just, "Hey, how you doing?" And that stuck with me 9 years later, when we were at the services, his daughters and his wife, and I had shared with her in a card, and she hugged me, and I said, what a great legacy that that man left behind. And anybody today still, they said, you know what? He asked how you were doing and he meant it. And I thought something as simple as that,
Yes.
that we can all take a second to not just pass somebody and go, hey,
Mhm.
but to wait for their answer because they're not okay. And he would stand in the doorway and he'd say, I'll wait. You know,
Mhm.
if you're in the middle, I'll wait to hear. He says, I just want to check in. And that was his only purpose in coming in. And he'd go back out and everybody would say, wow,
Mhm.
Michael was just here. Can you believe that? He asked me how I was and he waited for an answer.
Mhm.
And I thought, it seems minuscule, but yet what an impact it made on the team that wasn't even his.
Yeah.
He was seeing people in accounting. He was seeing people that don't directly report to him, but a member of management. And I thought, what a lesson to take from that, though, that he was waiting for that answer. Like, no, I'm waiting for you to tell me. It's not just a casual, I'm saying it because it's expected. And that's something that's always stayed with me, to when you ask somebody, pause, don't keep walking. If you don't have time to ask them that question, don't ask them that question until you're ready to take that second and wait for an answer from the person. Because it comes off as just, how you doing? How you doing? But that always, I thought, what a lesson to take from somebody who crosses your life path.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Barbara. I love this man, and I've never met him, but
Yeah,
he's like one of our kind of people, right?
absolutely.
And
I
I
told
love
him I'm a little nervous for my job. I said, "Are you coming for my job? Because maybe you shouldn't be sales. Maybe you should be in HR."
That's so funny. I love, Myrna, that you also are keying in on that important part of waiting for that response, waiting to listen, leading with curiosity and asking the question, but then, yes, waiting for the response and being ready to act on that. Awesome. Thank you, Barbara. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Yeah, I'll add in just really quickly. Um, for those of you who don't know, I work quite a bit with kids as well. And when I'm coaching folks that work with kids, I always say, um, kids don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so that relationship piece is key. And kids grow up to be adults and the same thing matters. So until they know that you care about them, they don't really care what you know. So they'll be performative and they'll do compliance, but you won't get that innovation and that hard work unless they know that you really care about them as a person. So I agree 100% with what Kevin said.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. And right, relationships, that's what everything is about. Without that piece, the rest of the work to me falls to the side. So yeah, thank you, Sean. Thank you, thank you. And I see Heidi chimed in. It's important to do the check-in with others. Sometimes a stranger who you meet on the street or at the grocery store, you never know the difference you can make. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's great. Thank you for sharing that too, Heidi. All right, let's go ahead and move on, Kevin. So we've mentioned the S.T.O.R.Y method a couple times, S.T.O.R.Y. And that is one of your trademarked speaking topics and in your book as well. So, Kevin, tell us a little bit about the S.T.O.R.Y method. And then I don't know if you're able to show us your sticky notes and the power of those sticky notes. I still can't get over that. So if we can work that into part of your response, Kevin, that would be great. But let's hear about S.T.O.R.Y and tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, and I'm going to show you the sticky notes right after
Okay.
I answer that
Okay.
because
Perfect.
everyone going to be amazed. And the other day, somebody asked me, "What is all that on your wall?" I said, "Are you ready? Can we talk?" They said, "Yes," and I give them a whole story, and they were so amazed. But before we get to that, so S.T.O.R.Y is an acronym, but it's not an acronym really, but it's really a roadmap. That's what I call it. From where you've been to who you are becoming. So the S is broken in S is for survive, T is for transform, O is for own it, R is for rise, and Y is when you finally create your brand. So when you go to S, which is survive, this is, I call it for me the pit season. The pit season where you're always in the bottom and your moment you're alone by yourself. So it's the season where you're just trying to make it through the day. Nothing pretty here, but it's real and it's honest. So most people want to skip this chapter, but they don't really understand the strategy because there's no strategy without the survival. So the S is what you survive. So if you really want to know how you can make an impact, the first thing you need to go back to is what are the list of the thing in my life that I survive from childhood all the way to where you're at now. And then you'll be surprised. This will it reveal so many things about you. Then after you go onto what you survive, then that's when you do another list of what transform you.
Hmm.
how what you survive able to transform you. Because this is where you will stop asking, why me? And you start asking, what now? Because transformation rarely comes as a plan. It usually comes disguised in interruptions. So when you survive with a list and you have transformed with a list, you get to compare because this bring you back from being human. And sometimes that's what you need to go back and to understand from your story. By the way, we all have a story.
Mhm.
Mine might be different than yours, but there is something that matters to you and somebody else in the world need to hear it. So the S and the T, then the O is when you own it. When you understand what you survive and you understand what transformed you, now you have to learn to own it, right? You stop hiding the story and you start owning it, the good, the bad, all of it, because it's beautiful, because it's your story, because you can't brand a story you are still ashamed of. And nobody can take from you what you already own. So once you own it, you'll be able to share with the rest of the world. Then you already done the work that's gonna bring you to the next level, which is gonna give you the ability to start rising. Because people always think rising, oh, okay, I made it. No, no, no. Rising is not the absence of struggle. It's what struggle looks like once it's been put to work. So you survive, you transform, you own your story, then you start rising. Then at the end of it, that's when you get to create your brain. Because your brain isn't the highlight you post, is that the highlight you get to tell on LinkedIn or different things. Your brain is the truth you're finally willing to stand on. So when you get a chance and you have your framework going to come out of that as well. Your message will come out of that. When you get a chance, have a list of what you survive. Have a list what transform you. Understanding how you own that story, then start building on how you rise. Then that become your brand. And next time you get to do a speech, you get to speak to other people. You lead with that story because people will relate to that. I think I had a great podcast with Sandy, and we were talking about the importance of story. As a kid, we don't care about anything else. The bills is paid, whatever the case might be. We look forward to sit outside and listen to our parents telling us stories because we connect so much with stories as human beings. We want to hear that because that's how we lean on in order for us to be who we are. So the story method is not a ladder, it's a staircase. Because a ladder you climb and you never look back down. But a staircase, every step stay connected. One before it stay connected. So you don't outgrow your story. You continue to build on it. And it's so important to share with the rest of the world. And that's what the story method help you. It help you create that authority in order for you to connect with people because your story allow you to meet people where they are and you will reach people in a way where your title will never be able to reach. You could lead with VP, you could lead with CEO, but if you lead, I was a 17-year-old sleeping in the basement, I get to meet someone at the lowest to understand, oh, I have the permission to do it as well. So
Mhm.
that's what the story method is all about. And I'm gonna go into the part two of that, which is the sticky notes. So I'm gonna give you the story, the sticky notes. When I was in the basement and the leader gave me the $600 and he told me go buy yourself a mattress, and I took the train that day. When I took the train that day, I decided to stop at a 99-cent store and um, and I bought a pack of sticky notes. And years later, I was delivering a speech in Arizona and I was talking about neuroplasticity. That's what science call it, right? Science call it neuroplasticity. And if you're a person of faith, like I am, the Bible said the renewal of your mind. But if you a person that's into the story method as Kevin, I call it the sticky notes. And years when I was delivering that speech, because I was going to neuroplasticity, I was telling people your brain doesn't know the difference between what's true and what's repeated. What you rehearse in your mind is what you start to believe. So I started writing those sticky notes all over the basement wall and start writing, this is just a stop, not your destination. Keep going, Kevin. And every morning I'll wake up and I will read those sticky notes. So I got to my office and I had it all over my sticky notes, which I'm going to show you in a second. Let me turn it so you can see. There they are. Those are the sticky notes. So the sticky notes I have there is to remind me every time I'm having a bad day or something's happened. Those sticky notes are all over my office. Every time I look up, it reminded me of who I am and where I'm going. Because sometimes a vision board, you look at it once in a while, but the sticky notes is something you can't avoid. It's in your face every single day until you becomes who you are. So every time something happened, every time I have doubt, every time I can't do something and it seems impossible, I turn around and I remember everything that happened in my life and I read it and then give me the strength to keep going again. So that's why the sticky notes is. So wherever you are, if you could put some sticky notes on your computer and your the mirror for your makeup and your wherever you want to put them, but write the sticky notes, a note about what you overcame and everything that happened in your life, and let it sometimes when you can't understand other people, go back to that sticky notes and remember sometimes you was once in those shoes, and this will give you the humility and the empathy to see other people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Those sticky notes, Kevin, they speak to me. So thank you for sharing that with everybody. I
You're
am going to give
welcome.
everybody a homework assignment right here in real time. Go in the chat and open up Megan's post where she says, "Here are mine," and click on that photograph. And if you all are not blown away, wow. Megan, would you unmute and talk us through your sticky note? I've not ever seen anything that extensive,
Yeah.
and I've seen a lot of sticky note boards. So talk to us for a second about what's going on there. Are you all blown away by that?
It's grown. If you can imagine, it's grown since then, a little bit further down the other side of the wall. Similar to Kevin, I think it really touched me, Kevin, when you mentioned how you're a man of faith, because I feel like I'm a great woman of faith as well. And in the hardest, darkest time of my life, I kept hearing this voice inside my head to say to do what Kevin is doing. And my mom was with me at the time because that's how dark it was. I had to have my mom with me in the house
Mm.
because it was just too hard. And I went to her one day and I said, Mom, this is what we're going to do. And she kind of looked at me like, okay, we're doing it. And so every night I would put one and she would put one, and I would put one and she would put one. And we kept going and going and going and going. And every morning when I would wake up and I had no words to say, I had no feelings, I was empty, I would just say those things on the wall
Mm.
over and over and over and over and over and over every single morning until I started to believe those
Believe.
things again,
Mhm.
that everything was going to be okay, that God says I am who he says I am, that the promises for my life are true, and that he does work all things for good. And it was a journey, but it's like Kevin says, you need those reminders in your life, and you need those people alongside with you that are going to take the time to journey alongside with you in that.
Mhm.
That is so amazing, listening to that. And those
Mhm.
people have a name, Megan. I call them the destiny helper. Those are the
Yes.
people that's assigned to by divinely to get you where you need to go. And one thing I'll share with you is one of the notes that I have, maybe it will help someone else. It wrote, and I said the same thing to last week on Saturday, is you are not buried, you are planted. And soon the world will get to see the tree you became. It would be impossible for them to ignore because it's a process.
Mhm.
Growth is a process. So, oh my God, Megan,
I know.
it feels
I
so good to, I mean, we're in the same place. So when I deliver that speech, I'm like, everybody understand it. And then I was after the speech, everybody was coming to me, was like, "Oh my God, the sticky notes! I need a book on the sticky notes. I got so
Yeah.
much book that's due right now." Dr. Maria is the same thing. I got another book for the pit, the prison, the palace. I got so many books waiting. I don't know where to start. That's how crazy it is. So thank you so much, Megan, for sharing that. This is so amazing, and God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you for sharing your story. It's absolutely true that people need to hear all the various stories that are out there. When you're in the depths of your story, you could care less about who hears it or who it belongs to or who it's going to affect. All you're worried about is you. But once you get out the other end, you realize that it was not for no reason and that it means something, not just to you, but it could mean something to a lot of other people too. So I appreciate you sharing yours too, Kevin.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And with both of you, thank you for feeling safe within the confines of the Zoom call that you knew that you could share. So thank you for that so much, both of you. Another thing I love about Kevin is maybe you're picking up, Kevin has lots of what I call Kevinisms. He just has the destiny helpers. Kevin jumps on one of my calls every week, and we have lots of Kevinisms that happen throughout the week. So Kevin, you're famous for those. All right. Anybody else want to comment before we go on to our next question? This is powerful, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've already hinted on this, but let's go a little bit deeper. Let's talk a little bit about how can we develop more emotional intelligence for our future ready teams. We've talked a little bit about emotional intelligence without using those words, but what do you think about that, Kevin?
Emotional intelligence, and I'm gonna give your answer based on my experience. Hey, by the way, this ties right into today's theme, right? Lead yourself before you lead others. You cannot really develop emotional intelligence and a team if you haven't done the work on yourself. And I believe that. And I think this is matters more right now, more than ever, because of AI.
Yeah.
Everyone asking whether AI is going to replace leaders, my answer is no, because AI is not here to replace leaders. AI is an amplifier. It's a tool. Leaders should not be afraid of it. A hammer don't build a house, right? A builder does. So AI is the hammer. Think about it this way. And leadership is still the person building. So what AI can do is process data, automated tasks, predict patterns, but it cannot give you empathy.
Mhm.
You remember the story I said earlier about the man that gave me $600 and changed the trajectory of my life? An AI agent could have never done that. An AI could have never looked at me in the face and know exactly what I was going through.
Mhm.
Because that's not a pattern. That's not data. That's a human being who was emotionally intelligent enough to notice and to act right after it, right? And so here I tell leaders, AI will not replace leaders, but leaders will master AI will replace leaders who don't. So the tool isn't the threat. Refusing to grow is the threat. So now, how do we actually build this? And emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence isn't a personality trait. It's not something you're born with and others aren't. It's a muscle, and any muscle grows with what? Repetition. So I'm gonna give you three reps that I actually use that I teach with my coaching clients and when we talk about leadership. So the number one thing that we talked about is name it before you react. So before you respond to a hard email, hard conversation, that happen all the time. And I'm guilty of it. Sometimes I'm rushed into some emails that I never really pause a little bit to name it before I react. So the hard conversation, the hard meeting, it's time really to pause and literally name what you're feeling. Am I feeling frustrated or defensive or anxious? You cannot manage an emotion you haven't named. So you have to take the time to name it because naming it is what puts you in the driver's seat instead of the emotion. So it's very important because I've done that mistake and I'm sharing with you because I've done I was getting ready to send an email back a response. In my head, I was thinking, oh, this person is arrogant, this person is that. And when I picked up the phone and called the person, he was really genuine. Yeah, I just wanted to know. But in my head, I was going through all that because I felt frustrated, defensive, anxious. So before I sent any email, I paused for a minute. Before I had a conversation, I paused. And number two is learn to read the room before
Mhm.
you read the agenda as leaders. Before I run meetings, I looked at people faces, and before I looked at my notes, I make sure I look at to see how people are feeling. Who's quiet? Who usually quiet in the meetings that usually speak? Who look checked out? And that
Mhm.
agenda, when I looked at it, it tell me what to say, what to cover. This is what we're going to talk about. But the room tells you what actually need to be said. And sometimes I tell people is as a leader, you need to become the thermostat because you have to learn to control the temperature in the room.
Mhm.
And the third one is create the pause really that makes honesty safe. Just like we in here, we pause for a minute to let people speak. When
Mhm.
someone on my team brings me a problem, my first move isn't to fix it, is to ask one more question before I respond. Because the moment you rush to solve, people stop being honest with you. The pause is what tells them it's safe to tell your truth. And that's what we just create here just now, right? We create the pause in this atmosphere now, and where we are now in this community. By the way, I think Lisa said the power of community. I call it community is currency. That's the new currency, community. And I get to pause here, and then we get to allow people to open up. I just learned something about Megan that if I hadn't shared that, she probably would have never mentioned that. I was able to share something and we paused and I realized we are more than alike, than we're different. We
Yes.
went to the same struggle. So that's the practice. And all of those trace to what I said in my story method. It's about owning it. As an emotional intelligence practice, this is the best thing to do, to own it. When you own your story instead of hiding in the room, when you own who you are and you don't react under pressure, really, you create a safety for your team to be honest.
Mhm.
And again, AI can't do that. Only us as human could do that. And that's still on us. That's why leadership still matters. And the future doesn't belong really to the smartest tool in the room. It really belongs to the most emotional, intelligent person in the room who knows how to use it.
Mhm.
So it's the biggest thing. It's pause. Name it and start thinking about how people will feel. And sometimes the only way to really find out it's to lead yourself first and to know who you are, lean into your story, and understand that people have emotion as well. And how do we manage it? How do we say it differently and get the same message? It's about creating that safe environment. So
Mhm.
that's what I think it's all about when you come to emotional intelligence.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And thanks for bringing in that piece of psychological safety with that. I totally believe in that, as you know. Anybody want to, as we'll just implement right now, Kevin, how about I pause my voice
There you
and
go.
invite others to come to the floor if anybody wants to chime in? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. We're getting close to time. We have 15 minutes left, but we usually end a little bit before the hour. Woo, thank you for that. Lisa is saying this entire session has been life-changing. Kevin, you're amazing.
Thank you.
I want you to talk to us about an, I think, newer to you opportunity that you were telling me about, the GEF, which is the Global Entrepreneurship Festival. And now you are what's called an assembly leader. So I want you to talk about it, but also to help people understand they can go out and find some of these things too that are important to them, that may help elevate their voice. So can you just talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
enough about it, so just go ahead.
And then I have my peer with me, Dr. Maria. I know she's driving, and we there together. Dr. Maria, is amazing to see you on this call. GF and Entrepreneur Assembly Village is a global, just like you mentioned, GF is the Global Entrepreneurship Festival, and it brings together entrepreneurs and leaders from all over the world. It's based in Nigeria, it's in Africa, and we able to serve me and Dr. Maria as well as an assembly leader under Dr. Smart Francis. He's the president, such amazing leader. I'm telling you, if you get to hear the guy speak, and it's so amazing. And that role will help shape the mindset and leadership for over thousands of entrepreneurs across Africa and all around the world. So I'm not just attending. 2 weeks ago, I joined the movement, and now I'm an ambassador for it. And I just deliver a keynote with them that called the Pit, the Prison, the Palace. Oh my God, this was so powerful. It was the 249th Entrepreneur Assembly meeting. And I talked about as leaders and entrepreneurs, it's so important for us to understand seasons. Oh my God, it was so good that I'm writing a book about it, and I have a webinar coming, and so important. And all of you will be able to, if you listen to that speech and listen to that keynote, it will change your life because as leaders, sometimes we have to understand seasons because it's very important. And this November, GF and Cairo in Egypt, they have the biggest entrepreneurship event in the world. They partner with Egypt, the prime minister, and everyone is included. It's global. And if anyone here is thinking about scaling their voice or their business globally, that's a room that you want to be in. This is an amazing community. The people who are learning, I met some amazing people in there when I'm telling you that changed my life. And that's why I love that movement so much. And sometimes we think about um, we local, but as leaders, we need to think about it differently. We are
Mhm.
global.
Yes.
Our voice is global. The world needs to hear about what we have to say. The world needs to hear our story. We need to be able to make a difference. When we leave this earth, then we leave a legacy behind. We get to change people's lives. And I encourage all of you to join it. We meet on Saturdays, or if you want to check the festival, and it's on my page as well, and you could follow GF as well. And I'm so amazing to be part of this community and the people who are building and leading that community.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And that's the man from Omaha I want to introduce you to, Jabril, because
Mhm.
I think you two will definitely have some synergy. He does a lot of work in Africa and he's building schools in Sierra Leone,
Awesome.
just doing some really, really great things. So he may already be a member. I don't know, but I know he does like work with the Rotary and I don't know, some other events. But did that spark anything in some of you thinking about how you can get bigger, be bigger, do bigger things? And if anybody's inspired, do you want to talk a little bit about what are you thinking with that? It's pretty cool.
I'll just unmute, even though I'm not having my camera on because of
Yeah.
power outage. But I just want to say, my gosh, it feels like this story, I mean, just the conversations we've had is so good, but it feels like, Kevin, that's a community of people who are doing the work. And go there to kind of like not only enhance your work that you're doing, but also to just be in community with people who are doing the work with you. And so I appreciate you sharing that, and I'll definitely be researching the organization to see how I can join you all on Saturdays.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And that's that important with community and sometimes we have so much to share. I think Cindy and I we're connected with the Indian community and I didn't realize, oh my God, as Haitian, we share some of that story because the island belonged to indigenous people. And then we connected all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. There's so much thing that connect us and so much value we could add to each other's community. It's just so amazing to see. So don't don't shy away from that and join some community and get to add some values because some of you the world needs your voice and not every I mean people could learn from that story, but some story that I get to learn from, it encouraged me to keep telling mine. It encouraged me to be the leader that I am today.
Yeah, it's so great. So, so great. All right, let's do this. Let's pause for a moment and get our group picture done, if that's okay, before anybody might have to jump off, and then we'll continue our conversation for the last few minutes. So if folks are able to go ahead and let us see your beautiful, Dr. Mary, your hair looks great. No worries. See your beautiful faces. So I'll just stop for just a second and give people a chance if they want to go ahead and turn their cameras on. And then we'll do our group photo. Hi, Horace. Good to
Let me
see you.
let me fix my hair. Hurry up.
Yeah, would you fix your hair, please? I better tidy mine up too. Okay, I think that was long enough to wait. So let's go ahead and do our group picture. One, two, three. And I'll do one more just for good measure. One, two, three. All right, thank you. I always feel like I'm going to forget that. So I wanted to get it done before time was up. So thank you for that. Other comments that folks want to chime in? How about any voices that have not had an opportunity to chat yet? If you'd like to unmute, so we can hear your thoughts before we end our call.
I just think it was a really good job. I truly appreciate the brief lesson that has taken place. Once again, without ado, when you talk about the sticky notes, that I'm looking at my office wall right now, and I'm looking at all the sticky notes on my wall that I'm trying to focus on to make sure that I'm on point. And I really, really, really appreciate your communication, and it makes a whole lot of sense. And I believe as when you talked about everybody has a story, you're absolutely right. And but the good news is that your story doesn't have to be your story, and you can change that final chapter. So once again, I appreciate you, Doctor. I appreciate the communication, and just thank you for the lesson today.
Yeah, that's awesome, Horace. We are so glad you're here. It's so great to have you. Sean, what would you like to add?
Hey, Kevin. Thank you again for this awesome meeting. The big takeaway I had was just as a leader, finding that central theme, the connection that you have with the people that you're leading. I just thought back to what you said about the commonality between Haitians and the indigenous people that were there before. Just really quickly, I remember in working with the Navajo reservation, they said their favorite type of music was the blues music, and they liked B.B. King. And they said because his music spoke to their suffering and they understood it. So commonality, right? I was like, wow, I would never thought of that. So there's that commonality, right? Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
definitely. Yeah, you get to learn so much and I had to dig back. I knew the story as a kid and when Cindy approached me, I'm like, why can I share with indigenous people? I was going deep and I'm like, oh my God, I get to go back to my story and understand all these things that happen and I get to understand we got the same scar from a different wounds and we get to heal together, but that doesn't mean we can't coexist and learn together. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's what make the world beautiful. You know what I mean? To be able to share and speak. Some culture speaks to our souls, and we don't even understand why until we dig deeper and realize, oh, there is a connection. we get to connect it. And we can't do that without having a conversation, without having to share stories. When we start sharing our stories, that's when we get to dig deep and understand, oh my God, we have something in common.
Mhm.
So Megan started a whole extension with the sticky notes. So now it's going in my head again. I'm like, oh my God, I need to start weaving that sticky note back into the
Yes,
speech and start talking more about it.
it's so powerful, Kevin. It's so powerful. I definitely can see you weaving that back in. Heidi, we have a few
Mhm.
more minutes. What would you like to contribute?
I just want to say thank you, Kevin, for sharing your framework and for your vulnerability. I think one of the things that really resonates with across everyone is the vulnerability that happens when we share our story. And that first you have to lead yourself,
Yes.
and in order to show up and giving yourself that pause whenever you feel flooded with emotion or things like that. And I've been having a hard time with my business and getting my mind, into my power. And I I tell myself, sticky note, come on, get it out there. And I'm going to do that today because it's such a good reminder in your face. And I've done it in the past, but I love the reminder and all of what you shared. So thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was great to see you, Heidi. Thanks so much for coming. I had my background blurred, so I doubt you can see this, but I keep all my sticky notes in a little folder, but I have hundreds of them in here. And I made it portable so I can stick it in my bag when I travel, so I don't forget things when I'm out of the country. And I even travel with blank sticky notes on the very back page, so I can always keep adding to it. So it shows up in many different forms, but that's how I do my sticky notes. So
That is awesome. I'm actually in a space where I'm building an AI called the Story OS, right? And then it asks all the questions that you need, and you get to build your story
oh,
and for you. But one thing that I'm thinking about as we start talking about it right now is I think I'm going to create a feature in there that will automatically highlight some part of your story and put it automatically as a virtual sticky notes.
yeah. Yeah.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, I know. That's really, really cool. All right, everybody, it is almost time. Does anybody have 30 seconds of wisdom they want to share before we wrap up our call?
I just want to share, first of all, I am so appreciative of this conversation, but just the relationship that we all have. As leaders, we're concerned about other people. And I love how Kevin started out by just a simple task of how are you? And
Yeah.
so that really resonated with me as a leader. And I just, we're from all different walks, we do different things, but there's such a commonality that is shared within this group. And I just appreciate the conversation today. So thank you,
Mhm.
Kevin. Thank you, Shari.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. I knew Kevin would be fired today, so I am so thankful he said yes to me. So, Kevin, truly,
Always a
truly, thank you,
pleasure.
my friend, for being here for us today. You're wonderful.
There's some
Thanks,
people you
everybody.
can never say no to, Sherry.
Ah, you're funny. Thank you for everybody showing up. It's so, so great. And we'll see you next month at our session. And like I put in the chat, if anybody wants to drop in, I do open office hours every week. Kevin's on pretty much every single week. So if you want to learn more Kevin isms and have Kevin continue his story, you're always welcome to pop on there. So anyway, it's so great to see you all. Thank you so, so very much. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.